that peace, that love, that harmony, that oneness and wholeness all waits for me inside my heart, inside our collective hearts, inside this world, inside this sanctuary, and beyond this place and time. For it's in harmony, it's in the sound of children, it's in sound that is resonating this message today out into the entire world through social media. And so that is all God, and so it is.
And so it is.
So we have the lighting of our candles today that Linda's going to help us with. We are an interfaith gathering, a spiritual community that honors all teachings and all spiritual teachers. And now we begin our ceremony that celebrates this oneness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples and all faiths come for the one universal presence, which we call spirit. And I'm so grateful for friends who say yes beforehand and in the moment. And so let us begin. The Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. Shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of pristine spirituality. Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. New Thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. The last candle is the healing candle of love, of light, and of peace. We invite you in the stillness of your own mind to bring to awareness the names of anyone you wish to be included in this healing flame of love, light, and peace. Now that our flames of faith are fully lighted, we move forward into our celebration, realizing and reaffirming that all paths lead to God. Thank you, Linda. Our sacred reading for today, or our inspirational quote: if we are to have an active faith, the faith of God instead of merely a faith in God, our thought must be centered in universal mind. We are convinced that under divine law, all things are possible if we only believe and work in conformity with the principles of that law. Such a faith does not spring full-orbed into being, but grows by knowledge and experience. And so it is. Good morning.
Good morning.
That was nice. My name is Karen Valera Sherman, and I am one of the licensed practitioners here at the Alaska Center for Spiritual Living. And at this time, I would like to welcome anyone that is new here in the sanctuary or anyone that's new online. We have a gift for you if you boldly raise your hand. And if you don't feel up to that, see Judy. Judy, go like this. See Judy at the end, and she'll give you that packet. And if you're online, please let us know, and we'll be sure to send you a packet. I'd also like for the practitioners that we have here to please stand, because I'm going to now talk about one of our favorite things, which is prayer. And so the people that were standing are Linda and Rev Dawn. We have Cynthia in the corner. We have Bob and Judy in the back, and myself. And next door, we have Anne, and we have Robert. And I introduce those people because the ways that you can receive prayer are so bountiful. There are many ways that you can receive prayer. As a matter of fact, you can receive prayer right at the end of service. I mean, that is really quick, right? Like, let's talk about prayer. And we call that an OM. It's a 1-minute miracle. And you can just tap any of us and say, please pray with me. Please pray for me. I have abundance happening in my life right now, and I certainly want more of that. Or I have something that's heavy on my heart, and I need you to know the truth for me, because right now I'm wallowing in the weeds and I just can't see that light at the end of the tunnel. And I need someone to see that light for me and know that truth for me. And we know that as soon as that prayer has been just thought about, it's already going out into the ethers. And so there's also other ways that you can receive prayer in front of you. Usually it's on some bright colored paper that might look like this. You can fill that out and put it into the box that was to the right when you came in, or you can let someone know online that you would like to receive prayer. There also is some place that you can click to fill out a confidential prayer request. If you're here in the building, Cynthia will collect those today and send those out. If you're online, then Rev Linda will let us know. And we pray for you all week. But like I already said, once that prayer has been put in, it's already moving and grooving to what you prayed about or something better. And then also, if you would like something that's more, there's cards there in the back too, and you can ask us to sit down with you for something that's even greater and even more, to have something that's life-fulfilling or life-changing that you'd like to have happen in your life, and you just want to discuss that out with someone. We are here for you. All you have to do is say yes, and then get your feet moving in the right direction by asking for that prayer. We have other opportunities in which you can say yes to. As a matter of fact, right after our service this morning, we have our annual meeting, and we have 2 seats that are open, and the following nominees: Bob Corbin and Cynthia George. And so please join us after service. For our gracious giving this month, for February, we had the Law Project for Psychiatric Rights, and we gave them $460. And in March, it was the Keys to Life, and we also gave them $460. Somewhere around January, we usually come together and we plan for about 14 months of ways that we're going to give, so that when we come back, we're already giving until February. And it's I am a part of that group, and it's wonderful to be a part of that group. Let us know if you'd ever like to join. The more, the merrier. Coming to ACF, to the Alaska Center for Spiritual Living on May 19th is Reverend Bonnie Rose. Rev Don has talked about her for a couple weeks, and I'm sure that he will say something during his minister's moment too, but I am really looking forward to this. It is always wonderful to have someone come from, as we call it, the lower 48, and just tap in and tune into what they have, their gifts and talents that they bring to us. Before we go to more music or the minister's moment, I just want to take a moment to talk about Rev Don, who will be giving our talk about your gentleness in showing. And as a human being, I would just like to honor and reflect on all the ways that he shows his gentleness when he's on the river fishing, which is coming up soon, with his dog Joy, with his family, his grandchildren, and his recent great-grandchild. At the cabin, and with his love, Anne, who is next door. And one of the greatest ways that he gets to show his gentleness is when we tune in and tap in and ask him to pray for us. And I can definitely speak to this, because there will be times where I'm headed to work and I got something going on. Rev Don always answers for me, and he shows great gentleness and when he's praying for you. So I invite you to give him the opportunity to do that, because you definitely will not be disappointed. He shows great grace and gentleness. And so, Rev Don with our minister's moment.
Well, I can't complain about that one. I always complain when they introduce me, but This is in the magazine, and it says, everything in nature moves in circles. What goes out must come back. Love and you will be loved. Extend joy and you will become more joyful. And that really, to me, captures the essence of the law of circulation. I talk about this law a lot. And I'm going to give an example that really happened very recently. Last year's project for the permanent fund dividend program for the people that tithe 10% of that, we collected everybody and we collected all the money that they did to that, and we sent it to the Lahaina fire relief. About 3 weeks ago, I got an email from Faith Rivera. Now, Faith is Emmy Award winner. She performs on big stages. She's been here to Alaska, and it must have made an impression because she really liked us. And she's been working on a workshop, and she's created a new workshop. And it's not all singing. It's not a choir thing. It's not all singing. It is a workshop on loving yourself. So we are in the stages now of talking. I need to talk with the Leadership Council, figure out how we're going to do this, but we're going to bring Faith Rivera back to Alaska. The power of prayer. In this month's Guidepost magazine, there is an article by Rhonda Willingham. It's in the section on overcoming addiction, and it's a powerful story about what Rhonda went through in overcoming addiction in her own life. But that's not what I want to talk about. It isn't the body of this story that it is so powerful to me. It talks about how she struggled and what she did. And at one point, she walks away from this abandoned lot in South Dallas to walk away from her addiction to drugs. And then it shoots forward. Here's what she writes. Fast forward 17 years. I am sober, married, and the founder of an organization called Making It Count, Inc., which offers housing and street support services to people like I once was, lost, homeless, and wondering if there's any hope left at all. I help them see there is. Our theme for this month is gentleness. And the title of my talk today is Your Gentleness is Showing. And I think this is an example, Rhonda stepping forth in to help those people that she knew so very well, people that she used to use with, that she used to sell to. And she did it from a point of this gentleness. And that's what I want to talk about today, is your gentleness is showing. 3 major points today are, what is gentleness? Number 2, how do we get it? And number 3, love is the essence of gentleness. So what is gentleness? As I tried to get this, it came to me first, it was a lot easier to say what gentleness is not. Gentleness is not meekness. Oh, not me. I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that. That's not gentleness. It is not weakness. Oh, I'm too weak. I couldn't do that. It's not weakness. And it's not a free pass for all of the previous errors that you've made in your life. It's not at, oh, well, it doesn't make any difference. Because the decisions that we've made, the things that we have done, good, bad, and in between, are in fact important parts of who we are. And we'll be talking more about that in a minute. But it's not that we ignore those kinds of things. That is not gentleness. What gentleness is, first we can turn to the dictionary, the quality of being kind, tender, or mild-mannered. Well, that's great, I guess, but it's so much more than that. Gentleness is an awareness of who we are. Gentleness takes compassion, actually caring about others, and compassion for ourselves, caring about ourselves. Gentleness takes gratitude. I always like to turn to Pam Grout. I would like to suggest that there is nothing more important that you could ever do for yourself than to tune into the frequency of gratitude and joy. Just like Rhonda Willingham, she was stepped into that level of gentleness. Gentleness allows you to see things differently in the world. It reminds you that you are more than you give yourself credit for. And I don't know how that came up in the song. I had never heard that before. And Aaron, I think you're spooky. You're reading my mind. You are more than you give yourself credit for. It allows for pain, sorrow, fear, shame, and doubt to be for your highest good. We get these situations in our lives, and we all have them, where we think, oh no, this is absolutely horrible. And it may be unpleasant. It may be addiction. It may be any one of a whole bunch of different things. It may be things that we think are the absolute ruination of our lives. But I invite us to look beyond that there may be that spark of good that's within us. You know, when my son David was murdered, that was horrible. But if it hadn't have been for that, and Loanne insisting that I come to this center and meet Reverend Nancy, I wouldn't be here today. We don't always see that's there. It allows for that pain, sorrow, fear, shame to be for our highest good. And it allows you to be okay with yourself. It allows you to say, yep, I made that error. Yep, I did drugs. Yes, I did this. But I can be over that. I'm greater than addiction. I'm greater than those errors. I'm greater than the lack and limitation in my life. I'm greater than those conditions. And I'm okay with myself. So then the next question then would become, well, how do we get this gentleness? And I submit we don't. We don't get it because we've already got it. It's inherent in who we are. So rather than getting gentleness, let's cultivate that which we already have. And I think that self-love and self-compassion are a good place to start. There's a practitioner in Asheville, Center for Spiritual Living, was the center the Waterhouses started, and this practitioner, I'm sure, was trained by and worked with Reverend Dr. Barbara Waterhouse. She wrote this, and it is so profound. Recognizing our oneness with each other gives us introspection and awareness of our own judgments and how that is reflected in our relationships. Loving ourselves is loving the other. Loving the other is loving ourselves. Reaching for that outpouring of divine givingness in active compassion allows our beloveds to be themselves. It also gives us the space we need to find our own balance. True self-compassion. If we could only treat ourselves as well as we treat others. I know that's my personal stumbling block. It's easy for me to forgive and to have a great deal of compassion for other people. Myself, not so much. I'm a little harder on myself. Ernest Holmes said this: there is something about you and me that is cosmic, universal, that stretches over time and space. Let us learn to think better of ourselves. Let us learn to think better of ourselves. You know, we're all pretty cool. We're all pretty amazing. Another guidepost story. A lady by the name of Crystal Braden, Aurora, Colorado, wrote a story about her dog Paco. She loved Paco, and Paco and Crystal were one and the same. They went everywhere together. They did everything together, and Paco was Crystal's constant companion. One of their most favorite things was whenever she would sit and watch television, Paco would jump up. He was a little chihuahua. He would jump up on her lap and put his head on her knee. Well, Paco got sick, and the vet advised that it was time for Paco to be done, and rather than have him suffer anymore, they had to put Paco to sleep. But she vowed right then she would never have another dog. She was not going to go through that again. You know, it took me 5 years after Allie and Jake before I had joy in my life. Who got in big trouble when she ate a pound of chocolates that Ann had. You can imagine what that does to her digestive system. Crystal was devastated by the loss of Paco, and she was not going to have another dog. But her granddaughters were insistent that she do something, and she said, well, we can get something, but it's got to be a cat. It's got to be kittens. So they all proceeded to go to the shelter to select a kitten. No cats were there that day available for adoption, but they did have a dog. And this was an older dog. It already had white on its muzzle, and it was sort of lethargic in the back of his little pen. But when he heard them come by, he came to life. He ran to the front of his pen. He followed them down the hall. He was animated. He was bark, 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 bark. And the girls fell in love with this dog. Come to find out his name was Eddie. And the girls, oh, we want him. Can we have him? Can we have him? We promise we'll take good care of him. Yeah, you know how that goes. Yeah. Well, they ended up getting Eddie, and she brought Eddie home, and sure enough, the girls spent more time at home and less time with her and less time taking care of Eddie, and so Crystal spent her time taking care of Eddie. And after an amount of time, and I'm not sure how long it was, this is what Crystal wrote. Eddie was so grateful for every little joy in his life. Was I being foolish by not following his example? You know, you deserve more than just being taken care of, I said, stroking his head and feeling so many feelings break loose inside of me. Feelings that I hadn't wanted to let go of for a dog that I didn't want to even have in the first place. You deserve to be loved too. And after that, I stopped trying to guard my heart. Soon it was hard for me to imagine watching TV or even just sitting on the couch without Eddie snuggling up close, his little front leg draped over mine as if to confirm that we belonged together. I had Eddie for 8 years before he got too sick. Once again, the vet told me that I had to let my dog go. The vet came over to the apartment so Eddie could spend his final hours at home. Never again would I push away love because I was afraid of loss. Eddie had taught me that love was fearless and asked nothing in return. Eddie taught a powerful message. Love is fearless and asks for nothing in return. Which leads us to our third point, which is love is the essence of gentleness. Ernest Holmes wrote, "If we would look for a God of love, we must look long and deeply into each other. We must look away from the differences until we penetrate into the unity of the whole. Love alone reveals love. Hate but hides the gleam." If we're going to look for a God of love, we need to look at each other, because it is in each other that we find the love of God. Perspective is everything. The simple shift of perspective from suffering to an attitude of this will work out for me opens you up ever so slightly to breathe a little bit deeper, remembering for just a moment that you are love in form. Each and every one of us are love in form. Gives you a distance from the discomfort and allows answers, solutions, and opportunities to flow to us. It allows you to recognize patterns and habits that no longer serve you and helps you to let them go without judgment. So, conclusion. This is what I want you to take away today. As of today, you are building a culture of gentleness, a culture where you are comfortable in your own skin and your minds are safe and loving, a culture where you are allowed to mess up without being the end of the world, a culture where you love yourself more often than not, and when you don't, that's okay too. Today in this world, you get to be yourself. You get to be different and unique. You get to fail and succeed. You get to have good days and bad ones. You get to say what you want and what doesn't work for you. And so it is from a platform of gentleness that I invite my colleagues of practitioners to join me in embracing our congregation, all the way from New Jersey and Switzerland to Spenard. We recognize that there is indeed a magnificent, infinite power in the universe. And this power is for us if we only let it be. If we only allow that infinite power to guide us. And so as we go through this thing called life and we make mistakes, we can get up and try again. As we go through life and we face lack and limitation, we can step into the infinite bounty of the universe. As we face health challenges, we can simply know that that infinite creative force has never been sick, has never had cancer, has never had any of the other health problems that we all face, and that infinite power is within each and every one of us, and that infinite power is greater than any condition. And for when those times when we feel separate from one another as human beings, or separate from God, we can just know that each and every one of us are expressions of the Most High. Each and every one of us are creatures of God. And it is impossible for us to be separate from one another or separate from God. And so we can just give thanks. We give thanks for our awareness of the power and the presence of God in our lives. We give thanks, we let it go, we let it be, and so it is. Oh, thank you. And really, a big thank you to the choir, to Aaron, and for those of you who are online, I invite you to come if you possibly can. Chris, next time you come to visit Betty, we need to get you here in person so you can hear the choir. It's a lot different live than it is over your computer speakers. I'll leave it go at that. And what they did, I also want to mention for a moment, Ladora and Sue got us a new thing so we don't trip and fall. You know, I have come so close to doing a swan dive, and that's not surfing.
The new door handle?
The new door handle and
She did some edging near the back.
Yeah, she did edging. And they did the chair rail. They actually attached it to the wall.
Yep.
So that it was about to fall off. Thank you. Thank you.
What am I doing up here?
Offering.
Oh, the collection. Oh, you're not going to get away without Don doing the old collection. Okay, first we need to recognize some of the people. Oh, look, Chris is on, Lynn Prosick, Marion Brown.
Slim is here.
He's double dipping. Judith Mack, Barb Kaler, Tony from Kotlik. Well, we're just loaded today. I think I'm forgetting something, but I don't know what it is. So let's just do our affirmation. Get on so we can get to the meeting.
A joke.
Oh, I don't have a joke today. Our affirmation, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, and so it is.
We are loved. Today, we learned about how we're unstoppable. And Gavin is going to tell you one of the ways that he's unstoppable.
We talked about being at one of his favorite ways of being unstoppable is not to he doesn't worry about others. He takes care of what he needs to do, right?
Right. Yes.
And what is the color blue? He chose blue. It's one of our God qualities, and it means, what does blue mean? Peace. Share stories.
And really, Gavin is much more talkative in our class, as he talked about how he's unstoppable because the joy that's in him spills out, and it helps him make good choices.
Nice.
And we really talk about that, and boy, does he make good choices.
Beautiful.
I'm proud of you.
So, as we come to a close, that knowingness of that self-love and that self-compassion that creates that gentleness, I'm giving special thanks to the ones who have come before us, like Howard Thurman, who said, "There is something in every one of you that waits and listens for the sound of the genuine in yourself." And so it is.